The grammar rules te and toyu are both rather similar, and they both had such short little descriptions in the Genki 2 textbook that I decided I'd combine them into one lesson. So first we're going to cover te. That's not just hiragana te, it is te with a small tsu before it, so it's more like a plosive te instead of just te. Te can be used in many different ways with many different nuances, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to be looking at the ways that te can be used to quote something. So you may remember in my Japanese for Beginners series that if you add to iimashita or to itta to the end of a sentence, it's a way of quoting someone. X to iimashita is so-and-so said X. So if I just say this statement,頭が痛いです, that's just a statement. My head hurts. Versus, たまちゃんは頭が痛いと言いました. That's Tama said, quote, my head hurts, unquote. Te is basically the same as toimashita. It's just a much more casual way of saying that. Toimashita or toitta is more literary. It kind of makes you sound more like a narrator or like a book and not so much like a person having a casual conversation. And the way you use it is quite simple. If you know how to use toitta or toimashita, it's exactly the same. Just replace toimashita with te, and that's it. So, たまちゃんは頭が痛いって. Notice it's not 頭が痛いて. There's a 頭が痛いって. There's like this pause and this kind of plosive. If you kind of do this while you're saying it, 痛いって, that'll kind of give you the pause and the plosiveness that you need before the te to express that there's a small tsu in there. So that has Tama said her head hurts, or Tama says her head hurts. And notice that you can express this in past or present tense in English, even though in Japanese it's past tense. Well, actually, it's technically no tense in Japanese because there's like no verb to say or said here. But in English, we could express this either as Tama said her head hurts or Tama says her head hurts. Says is a little more natural, I think. It's like if you're my friend and you're visiting me in the living room and and you're like, oh, where's your husband? You know, I want to say hi to him. And I tell you, 彼は頭が痛いって. I'm saying, oh, he just told me just a minute ago. He says he has a headache. That's kind of the implication there. If I'm like, 彼は頭が痛いと言いました, it's more like, oh, he has spoketh that his head hurts. You know, it's more formal, like I'm a book and I'm saying this thing. But like, he says his head hurts is more 頭が痛いって. So that example used an e adjective, itai. Now we're going to show you an example with a na adjective. So if you use a na adjective, you have to replace the na with a da in order to conjugate this. So here's a sentence, again involving Tama-chan. たまちゃんは数学の試験が簡単だって. So Tama-chan wa, as for Tama-chan, 数学の試験, math test, ga kantan is easy, datte. So Tama-chan says, the math test is easy. I was just talking to her, and she said, she says the math test is easy. And here's a cool thing, you can also use it with verbs. It doesn't have to be restricted to adjectives. Tama-chan wa, 今日部活に来れないって. So bukatsu is like your after-school activity, club, sports, practice. So Tama says she can't make it to practice today. So 来れないって, can't come, 来れないって. And you can also apply te to the end of nouns. So you want to think of nouns as na adjectives in that you have to add a da after the noun. So たまちゃんは女の子だって. Tama-chan says she's a girl. And as a final note, with te, you can actually use it in tandem with toimashita or toitta. Here's the title of Chibi Usa's image song from Sailor Stars, Bye-byeって言った. So I'm using both te and itta. But in this case, the te is replacing to. I could say bye-bye toitta, but this is bye-bye te itta. So it's more casual. I said bye. So now on to toyu. Toyu is a way of giving names to items. And the formula goes like this. Name toyu item. That means an item called name. So here's a sentence. このすばというアニメを知ってますか? Konosuba, the anime, Konosuba, という anime. So an anime called Konosuba. Konosuba という anime. An anime called Konosuba. Or, so this big thought, the anime called Konosuba is our object. A verb is going to happen to it. 知ってますか? So 知る is to know or to know of in this case. 知ってますか? Do you know of? Or have you seen? Have you heard of? Pretty much. Have you heard of an anime called Konosuba? I have heard of it. I just haven't seen it. サラーヤという猫ちゃんを飼ってるよ. So 飼ってる is a verb that means you're raising. Basically, this verb applies to cats, dogs, rats, any pets. I'd say 犬を飼ってる. I have a dog. 猫を飼ってる. I have a cat. ネズミを飼ってる. I have a rat, a pet rat, but it's always pet basically. So サラーヤ Thalia という猫ちゃん. A neko-chan, a cat named Thalia. And then so the cat named Thalia is the object. And then katteru is the verb. So I am raising, I own, I am a cat parent too. A cat, a neko-chan, Saraya という neko-chan, a cat named Thalia. So notice how in the other sentence it was an anime called Konosuba, and with this Thalia example, it's a cat named Thalia. It could also be a cat called Thalia, but like if you're talking about the names of people or animals or stuff like that, named can kind of sound more natural in English than called, but they're both correct. And then here's something pretty trippy that connects with the first part of this lesson. You can replace the to in toyu with te. So those last two sentences, you can replace the to with te. このすばっていうアニメを知ってますか? Have you heard of an anime called このすば? It's just a little more casual than to. サラーヤっていう猫ちゃんを飼ってるよ. I own, I am a parent to a kitty named Thalia. And here's another one. セラムーンジャパニーズっていうチャンネルで日本語を勉強してます. I am studying Japanese on a channel called Seram Moon Japanese. To review the model sentences we covered in this video, check the timestamps in the video description or in the pinned comment of the comments section below. Also, do not learn all your Japanese from me. In the video description, I have links to other great resources for learning Japanese. You want to get some lessons from different perspectives and in different formats. Not all of them should be videos. Not all of them should be from non-native Japanese speakers. Some of them should be from native Japanese speakers, etc., etc. So check out all my links. And thanks for watching. If you want to support the series on Patreon, like all the lovely people whose names are on the screen, check out my Patreon. I have a lot of different tiers, a lot of different perks that you can customize, including worksheets with answer keys and study guides that go with these series, as well as like song translation breakdowns where I like diagram sentences and show you how everything works. So check that out if you're interested, and be sure to tune in next week when I cover なくてもいいです. 頑張ってね!